Hi, and welcome to this section of the Basic Math Word Problem Tutor. And in this section, we're going to talk about word problems that involve division, okay? And I have to say that this section, okay, probably gives the most people problems, okay, is word problems that deal with division. Because you're given two numbers, and you've already done addition problems and subtraction problems and multiplication problems, and now you're trying to have to figure out when to divide numbers together in order to get the right answer, okay? And it's very confusing at first to know if you need to add them or subtract them or multiply them or divide them. And so to make things even harder, okay, in this type of problem, there really isn't a good list of things I can tell you to watch out for to know when to divide. So for instance, back in the addition problems, I said watch out for things like find the total, find the sum, find the amount altogether, and same thing for multiplication. And in subtraction, we were looking for things like find the difference of, or how much bigger, how much smaller, how much taller, how much shorter, things like this. Okay. In this problem with division, it's not so easy to pick a phrase. Okay. You really have to understand the problem in order to know when to do this. And also the units can help you a lot, okay, to know when you have to divide numbers together to get the right answer, okay, to get the right units and the right answer for what you're trying to find. So you're going to have to read the problems more than once. You're going to have to think about them before you start doing them, and you're really going to have to try to figure out and see if you can understand what they're asking you, okay? So I guess the easiest way to do that is just to go ahead and jump into some problems, and I think that you'll get the hang of it by doing that. So just read each problem more than once, and let's work through them together. The first problem says a car travels 60 miles, okay, and burns 3 gallons of gas, okay? How many miles per gallon does the car get, okay? So you see we're dealing with elements of what we've done in the previous sections. We've got miles, we've got gallons, we've got miles per gallon, okay? Car travels 60 miles down the road, and as it drives, it takes 3 gallons of gas to do that. And you're trying to find out the number of miles per gallon. So you're looking at this and you're trying to say, well, do I add them? Do I subtract them? Do I multiply them? Do I divide them? You know you're going to have to do one of those, okay? Which one do you do? Well, we already said you can't add them together because 60 miles, you can't add it with 3 gallons of gas. You can't add miles to gallons. It just doesn't make sense. You can only add things that have the same units. You can add apples to apples or oranges to oranges, but you can't add miles to gallons. It's just different thing over here and a different thing over here. You can't add them together. So the same reasoning, you can't subtract them either, okay? Because you can only subtract things that have the same units too, okay? Multiplying them really doesn't do anything that makes any sense. I mean, you go 60 miles and it takes 3 gallons to do that. Multiplying them together just doesn't do anything related to what you're trying to find. You're trying to find miles per gallon. Multiplying them together isn't going to give you that, okay? So let me write a few things on the board and let's see if I can make it clear. What you're given in the problem, okay, is you're given that you go 60 miles, okay, and it takes 3 gallons, okay, of gas, okay? That is what you are given, okay? And you want to find a unit of miles per gallon. That is what you want to find, miles per gallon, okay? So let me ask you something. If you want to find miles per gallon, because remember we've talked before that this line here just means per gallon. Miles per gallon, that's how you read it. If you want miles per gallon, and I'm given miles up here, 60 miles, and I'm given 3 gallons, then what would happen if we wrote it like this? 60 miles per 3 gallons. Because that's, after all, what it says. It says that you go 60 miles and you take 3 gallons to do that. 60 miles per 3 gallons. So this actually makes sense. You see, that's why I'm saying you have to read the problem and make sense of it. 60 miles per 3 gallons. That actually does make sense with what the problem told you, okay? So what do you do with the math? If you were to look at this, now I will open your eyes a little bit and tell you that this little bar here, it means per, 60 miles per 3 gallons, but it also means division. Okay? This little bar here with something on top and something on bottom, it also means division. 60 miles per gallon, okay? So if I take the 60 and I divide it by the 3, okay, then what I will have is, I will have 60 and I will divide by 3, because this is what's on the top, 60 miles divided by 3 gallons, 60 miles divided by 3 gallons. Let's find out what this is, and we'll finish the problem and then we'll come back and see if it all makes sense, okay? How would you do this division, okay? 3 divided into 6 goes 2 times, okay? Because I know this because 3 times 2 is 6, so 3 times 2, it gives me 6. And I draw my little line there, okay? And I subtract these two together. 6 minus 6 gives me 0, okay? And then 6 minus 6 gives me 0, and then I drop this 0 down, okay? How many times can 3 go into 0? Well, I have 0, and I'm dividing 3 into it, so that can only go 0 times. You can't, it doesn't go at all in there, basically, is what I'm saying here. And then 0 times 3 gives me 0, and I have a remainder of 0. So that's how we do our division, and if you're having problems remembering how to do that division, you know, you can go back and look at my other DVDs on how to do that. But basically, you're dividing 3 into 60, so going into the first number, 3 times 2 gives me 6, so it divides an even number of times. 3 times 2 gives me 6. I do my subtraction. I get 0. I carry this other 0 down, because you always have to do that in the next step. And then 3 goes into 0 times, so I put a 0 there. And so then I go ahead and multiply. 0 times 3 gives me the 0. So there's a bunch of zeros here, because it goes an even number of times. It goes 20 times. And that's the answer there. So the answer is, okay, 60 divided by 3 gives me 20 miles per gallon. So let me talk about this for a little while, and let's just retrace our steps. We know that we were going to travel 60 miles. We know that it took 3 gallons to do that. I want a unit of miles per gallon because that's exactly what the problem asked me to do. Now, I told you, though, that miles per gallon, you know, it means per, but it also means division. So if I take the 60 miles that I had and I divide by the 3 gallons I had, the unit will be exactly what I want it to be, miles per gallon, and then all I have to do at this point is do the division there. So then I just had to crank through and do the division, which we did here, to get 20 miles per gallon, okay? So you see, there wasn't an easy key phrase, there was not an easy key phrase to look at in this problem to tell me what to do, okay? I just had to go, and I used the units actually to help me do that, but I had to kind of understand what was going on here. If I go 60 miles and it takes 3 gallons to do it, then by dividing them, I get 20 miles per gallon that I use, per single gallon that I use. That's what it's telling me here. The easiest way to continue learning this stuff is just to continue working problems, because the division problems are probably the hardest ones, because it's not really clear cut, and the only way to know what to do is to work a bunch of problems, okay? So the next problem says you have 20 oranges and 5 boxes. How many oranges go into each box so that they have the same number of oranges? Okay, so this is one of those grouping problems. You see, that's usually you're taught how to do division by talking about grouping. Okay, you have 20 oranges total, and you have 5 boxes on the floor, and I want to divide them up. I want to divide them up. You see, so you know you're going to have to do division, so that I put some oranges in each box, and I want to know how many oranges do I get in each box in the end, because it says how many oranges go into each box so that every box has the same number of oranges. Okay. So you see, this problem involves grouping. So if I were going to draw a picture, I would say, okay, here's 20 oranges. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Here's 20 oranges, okay? And I want to divide them up evenly, okay, so that I know how many oranges go into each box. And I have 5 boxes, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and give you the answer graphically here, and then we're going to work through it, okay? What would you say if I put a line here, meaning this is a box, and then this is a box, and then this is a box, and then this is a box? See, each box has 4 oranges in it, okay? four oranges in it. So you have 4 oranges in every single box, 4 oranges per box. Okay, so here I could draw it and I could show you if I had 20 oranges and I divided them up, how many into 5 boxes, 1 box, 2, 3, 4, 5 boxes, I would have 4 oranges in every single box. But, you know, most of your problems, you're not going to be able to do that. You're not going to be able to draw it to get the answer. So you have to know how to do it with the math, okay? So if you're given 20 oranges, okay, and you're also given that you have 5 boxes, okay? Now let me show you with the units what you're trying to find. You're trying to find the number of oranges per box. That's what you're trying to do, and that's why I keep talking about the units over and over again. You want to find the number of oranges per box. Per, with this line here, which also means division. So I already know the number of oranges total, and I already know the number of boxes total. So if I want to find out how many oranges go into each box, I just have to divide those two numbers together, and the units will give me what I want. So if I do 20 oranges per 5 boxes, okay, then the unit will be exactly what I want. How many oranges per box, okay? And then doing the division, the 20 divided by the 5 will give me what I want. 20 divided by 5. So I have 20 and I'm dividing by 5, 20 and I'm dividing by 5. So let's go ahead and do this, okay? 5 times what will give you 20? That's what you're asking here. That's what division is. 5 times what will give you 20? Well, 5 times 4 gives you 20. Okay, so I've done that division. Okay, so the answer is 4, and 4 what? Well, when you put it like this and you do this division, oranges on top and boxes on the bottom, you just have oranges per box, which is exactly what the problem's trying to ask you, and it's exactly what we found out up here just by using our pictures, okay, by drawing it, okay? But even if you didn't do this, okay, you still arrive at the answer, and notice how the units helped you so much, okay? You're not really sure exactly what to do, but you know that you're trying to find oranges per box, so you divide the number of oranges by the number of boxes, and you get 4, and the unit is oranges per box. Now, going back to the problem, how many oranges go into each box so that every box has the same number of oranges? This is exactly that. How many oranges go into each box? Oranges per box, okay? And that's how you would do a problem like that. Okay, the next problem goes like this. You purchase 5 radios for a total of $75. How much did each radio cost? Okay, so you buy 5 radios, 1 radio, 2, 3, 4, 5 radios I've got sitting out in front of me, at a total price of $75. So I've given the total price, I know how much all 5 radios cost, okay? And I'm trying to find out how much each radio cost, okay? And so I need to figure out what I need to do. Add, subtract, multiply, or divide. Well, let's look at our units. 5 radios, that's what I have, one of them. And the other one is total cost is $75. I know I can't add these together. You can't add radios to dollars. You just can't do that. You have to have the same unit to add them or subtract them. So you can't subtract them either. So now you just have to think about, well, do I need to divide these or do I need to multiply these? Okay? What I'm trying to find, okay, is, let's read the last sentence. How much did each radio cost? So think about that. How much did each radio cost? I'm trying to find the number of dollars per radio. That's what I'm trying to find. How many dollars per radio? That is the cost of each radio. You have to understand what the sentence is asking you and translate it into the math in your head. How many dollars per radio? And when I'm dealing with something per something, and I'm trying to find that, that's probably going to involve division, okay? So if I'm given 5 radios, okay, and I'm also given that the total cost is $75, okay, and I want to find the number of dollars per radio, because this is how much each radio costs, number of dollars per radio, okay? So when I write it by dollars per radio, all I need to do is put the number of dollars on the top divided by the number of radios on the bottom, and that gives me exactly what I want. So if I put $75 on top per 5 radios. Then in the end, after I do this division, I will be left with the unit of dollars per radio. And that's exactly what it says. How much did each radio cost? That would give me the number of dollars per radio. And you can also look at it from the point of view of just the grouping of it here. I've got 75 total dollars, and I've got, here's my $75. This is what this represents. And I've got 5 radios. So I'm going to chop this up into 5 equal segments, this dollars. So I'm going to have so many dollars for this radio, and so many for this one, so many for this one, and so on. And so I'm grouping, I'm taking the whole and I'm chopping it up into 5 pieces in order to find out how many dollars for each radio here. Okay? So let's go ahead and do this division here and see what we get. So this is going to be $75 per 5. So I'm going to have $75 divided by 5 radios. 75 divided by 5. 75 divided by 5. Let's figure out how to do this. First, you try to divide the 5 into the 7. 5 goes into 7 only one time because 5 times 1 is 5. And it can't be 5 times, it can't go 2 times because 5 times 2 would be 10, and that's too big. We're just looking at 7. So it only goes one time. Now that you have it up here, you multiply. 5 times 1 gives you 5. You write it down here. Draw your line. Okay? And you subtract. 7 minus 5 gives you 2. And I think you can convince yourself of that. 7 minus 5, starting at 7. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay? Left with 2. Okay, now before you do any more division, you take this 5 and you drop it down. Okay? You drop it down. Now you ask yourself the question, how many times does 5 go into 25? Okay, and I think you'll be able to figure out 5 goes into 25 5 times because 5 times 5 is 25. So it doesn't go 4 times, it doesn't go 6 times, it goes exactly 5 times because that's 5 times 5 is 25. So let's go ahead and show that. 5 times 5 gives you 25. Subtract, and you get a remainder of 0. So you're done dividing, you're finished. The answer is 15. Okay? So it's 15. And what are the units? The units are right here in front of you. You've set the problem up that way. Dollars per radio. Okay. So notice that your units have really helped you here. Okay? You know that you had $75. You know that you had 5 radios, and you're trying to divide them to find out how many dollars per radio, how much money each radio costs, which is how many dollars per radio. Okay, and the units actually tell you which way to divide. That you have to take 75 and divide by 5, and the units will give you the answer that you want to have there. Okay, now the next problem is a little bit trickier. I mean, that's what we do in this class. We start, with some problems, and then we move into harder and harder and harder problems to give you some practice. So the next problem is a little bit harder, but it's not a lot harder. It's just a little bit different. So let's read this. If you burn 25 calories when you swim for 1 minute, how long do you need to swim in order to burn 100 calories? Okay? So let's think about this. If you burn 25 calories when you swim for 1 minute, okay, so I'm swimming, I'm in the pool, I'm swimming, and I start my watch and I go 1 minute. I'm getting tired. I burn 25 calories, okay? For every single minute I go. So I burn 25 for the first minute, and 25 more for the next minute, and 25 more for the next minute, and so on, okay? How long and how many minutes, basically, do I need to swim in order to burn 100 calories? In order to burn 100 calories. So I know it takes me 25 calories for every minute, and I know I'm given the total number of minutes that I need to swim for, or I'm given the total number of calories that I need to burn, okay? So I just need to find out how long I need to swim in order to do that. It really helps in order to do these problems to write down what you know. So I always say you really need to write down what you know. You're given that it's 25 calories per minute. Okay? 25 calories per minute. So write that down just like that. It tells you right here, 25 calories when you swim for 1 minute. 25 calories per minute. You have to translate that into the math here. And you're also given that you're going to burn 100 calories. Okay? So you're just trying to figure out in your head, do you need to divide these or add these or subtract these or what? Well, you should know by now that you cannot add or subtract these numbers together because this unit is calories per minute and this unit is calories burned, and that you can't add those together. You cannot add calories per minute to calories. You just can't do that. You can only add units that are the same. So you know that you're going to either need to multiply these or divide these, okay? And you need to figure out which one to do. So what you want in the end, you want to know how many minutes you need to swim in order to burn 100 calories. Okay, so that's what you want. You want a unit of minutes. So you have to figure out what you need to do with these numbers, okay, in order to get minutes back. Okay, now I'm going to tackle this two ways. We're going to talk about what we think we might need to do given what we're trying to find, and then I'm also going to show you, based on the units just by itself, how to figure out what to do. Okay. I'm told it takes I'm burning 100 calories total, okay? But I'm burning 25 calories for every single minute, okay? So if I were to take the 100 calories and divide by the 25 calories per minute, I think that's going to get us what we need, because this is the total number of calories I burned. But every single minute I burn 25 calories. So if I know how many times 25 goes into this, I'll know how many minutes I must go to burn this many calories, okay? And that's what I'm trying to find. So let me say that one more time. I burn 100 calories total, but every single minute I burn 25 calories. So if I find out how many times 25 goes into here, I will know how many minutes it takes, okay? So what do you think? How many times does 25 go into 100? 25 times what gives you 100? I think you'll all know that 25 times 4 will give you 100, okay? Just like there's 25 cents in a quarter and there's 4 quarters in a dollar. So there's 25 it goes into 100 4 times, okay? So the answer to this problem is indeed 4 minutes, okay? Okay, and let's just see if this makes sense. If I'm burning 25 calories every single minute and I swim for 4 minutes, 4 times 25 will give me the 100 calories that I burned. 25 calories per minute times 4 minutes, then I'm going to burn 100 calories. So that is right. That is exactly right, just thinking through it logically and doing it that way. But what if you just wanted to use the units to figure out that I have a unit here of calories per minute, and I have a unit here of calories, and I want to figure out what to do with those to get minutes. I know I can't add them or subtract them. What do I do? Well, you can write something like this. You can write down your 100 calories, okay, and you can draw a bar under it, and you can draw a bar over here, okay? And you also know that you have 25 calories per minute, okay? Now, let me show you something. I could put 25 calories per minute like this. But what will that do for me? That's not going to do anything for me. Everything on the top here is multiplied together, and then you're dividing by everything on the bottom. So multiplying these numbers, 100 times 25, it's going to give me a big number. Okay, calories times calories divided by minutes, that doesn't even make any sense. What's calorie times a calorie, okay? I'm certainly not arriving at a unit of minutes, which is what I want to get. So writing it this way and doing multiplication, 100 times 25, doesn't do anything for me at all. So I'm just showing you that if you do that, why it's not right, okay? What I want to show you now is that you can take this unit, 25 calories per minute, and you can flip it over. You can write 25 calories per minute. You can write it exactly like that. That's the same unit, 25 calories per minute. So instead of writing it 25 calories per minute here and multiplying and getting nowhere, you can write it just like this, 25 calories per minute. You can flip them over at will. Now, the reason why we did that is because now you have calories on the top and calories on the bottom, and they cancel, and I'm left with a unit of minutes, okay? So you see, by writing it this way, I know that I have 100 on top and I have a 25 on bottom. Anything on top and bottom are divided, okay? And anything on top and top are multiplied. So here I have 100, okay, divided by 25. This is what this line means. Remember, this giant line means division. So I'm dividing by 25, okay? So what I'm trying to say here in the end, and you'll get 4 here, and you'll get a unit of minutes. Okay? What I'm trying to say here is you can use your units to figure out what to do with these numbers to get what you want. Let me summarize. You have 25 calories per minute, and you burn 100 calories. Okay? If you were to write it down like this to figure out dividing or multiplying, you could write your 100 calories, you write your 25 calories per minute like this, because your calories would cancel then, and then you're going to be left with minutes, which is what you want. How many minutes do you need to go? And then because I've got 100 on the top and 25 on the bottom, I'm dividing 100 by 25. That's what this means, 100 by 25. So then that tells me, right there, that tells me, if I divide these numbers together, I will get the right units. This is what it's doing. If I were to flip this over, like I had to begin with, that makes no sense at all. It doesn't let me cancel anything. It doesn't give me the right units. So I know that that is wrong. So that tells me that putting it up here where the 25 calories up here and the minutes on the bottom, that tells me right there that that's wrong, because multiplying them together is not going to give me the unit of minutes that I want. Okay? If this isn't clear, we're going to do several more problems like this, where we're going to have to divide and we're going to have to figure out what to do. And I'm telling you that, you know, I've worked with a lot of people, and it's very confusing when you need to divide and which number you need to divide by which number. And I have learned that doing this stuff with units is very, very helpful, okay? Because if you don't understand what you're doing, you're never going to know what to do. And doing the units helps you figure out what you need to divide by what, because using the units is really, the problem tells you what units you need all the time. Every problem we've all done, it's always asking you what units. It's telling you what units, and you just have to know how to use that to figure out what to do. The next problem says, a water hose delivers water at a rate of 7 gallons per minute. How long does it take to fill a 21-gallon drum? Okay, so let's read it one more time. A water hose delivers water at a rate of 7 gallons per minute. So 7 gallons every single minute goes into this drum. Okay, how long does it take to fill a 21-gallon drum? So I have gallons per minute and gallons in terms of 21-gallon drum. I need to find out how many minutes it takes. Okay, I need to figure out, do I need to multiply or divide these or add these, whatever. Well, I know I can't add or subtract them because it's gallons per minute, 7 gallons per minute plus gallons. Those are different units. You can't add those together. So that isn't going to work. So either you're multiplying or you're dividing. Now let's go back to figure out what we need to do. Let's go back and look at our units. Okay, so we have 7 gallons per minute. Okay, and we're also given that it's a 21-gallon drum. Okay, so here's our units. And we know we want to end up with minutes because it says, how long does it take to fill a 21-gallon drum? Okay, so if you think about it logically, you have a 21-gallon drum, this is big drum here, okay, and it can be filled at a rate of 7 gallons every single minute. So if I divide 21 divided by 7, okay, I have 21 gallons. Okay, here's my giant drum, okay, the first minute, 7 gallons goes in, the next minute, 7 more gallons, next minute, 7 more gallons goes in, next minute, 7 more gallons. What I'm trying to do is find out how many minutes does it actually take to fill the whole thing up, okay, and so you know you're going to have to do a division, and you know that dividing 21 divided by 7 is going to give you the answer in terms of minutes, because I have 21-gallon drum and I'm pumping water into it 7 gallons every single minute. So by dividing those two, I can find out how many minutes it takes. Okay, but even if you didn't understand that, even if you had no idea how to think through that, okay, you could just use your units. Okay, and you could use them like this. You could write down 21 gallons of water. You draw your little line here. And now you just have to figure out what to do with this one. How do you write this one in order to give you a unit of minutes? Because that's what you're trying to find. Let's just say that you just took a guess and see if this is right. You wrote down 7 gallons per minute. Let's see if this is right. Well, what this would mean is because 7's on top of the 21, this means that I would be multiplying them. So what this is saying is, what would happen if you multiplied them? What would the unit be? You would have gallons times gallons per minute. And you're not getting rid of anything there. You don't want gallons in your answer. You want minutes, because it says right here, how long does it take? You want minutes, okay? Gallons has nothing to do with the answer. You want minutes. So multiplying is clearly the totally wrong thing to do. You're not going to get the right answer by multiplying. And the units tell you that, okay? So you want to get rid of this. So, since we tried it that way, let's try it the other way. We can write 7 gallons per minute. 7 gallons per minute. I can write it that way. It's the same thing, I'm just flipping it over, because here, now I'm doing division. 21 divided by 7. I'm doing division. And now that gallons is on top with gallons on the bottom, they disappear. And now I'm left with minutes. So even if you had no idea logically how to think through this problem to divide 21 divided by 7 to get the answer, the units tell you that if you divide 21 divided by 7, gallons will cancel out and minutes will be left over. So take 21 divided by 7. You should ask yourself, 7 times what gives you 21? Your multiplication tables tell you that's 3, okay? So the answer is 3 what? 3 minutes is the only thing I have left. Okay, so we started with 7 gallons per minute, 21 gallon pool, or drum, and we divide the two to find out that it takes us 3 minutes to do that. Okay, and that kind of makes sense when you think about it, because if I'm filling it up at a rate of 7 gallons for every single minute that I fill, and it takes 3 minutes, if I multiply 7 times 3, 3 minutes, 7 gallons a minute, 21 gallons that I put into that drum. Okay, the final problem says you borrow $525 from a friend and plan to pay him back in 5 equal monthly payments. How much should you pay him per month? Okay, so this is a little bit different, not very hard, but it says you're borrowing $525 from a friend. You want to pay him back in 5 months, 5 equal payments. Payment on month number 1, payment on month number 2, payment on month number 3, number 4, number 5, 5 equal payments. So you can kind of see that the problem's dealing with grouping because I've got 5 equal payments of something. How much should you pay him per month? Okay, how much should you pay him per month? Well, what do you have? It's always good to write down what you have. You're given that it's $525. Okay, and you're also given that you want to pay him back over 5 months. And you want to know how many dollars per month to pay him. Okay, so when you write it down in terms of units, things become clearer because it tells you owe him $525. You plan to pay him back over 5 payments of each month. Okay, and you want to know, and it says right here, how you plan to pay him back. How much should you pay him per month? So what you're trying to say when you translate it is, how many dollars per month? Per month. How many dollars per month do you pay him? Okay? So I have dollars. I have months. I want dollars per month. So I just say $525 per 5 months. Okay? So this gives me my units, my dollars per month. And because I have 525 and 5 on the bottom, I'm dividing. 525 divided by 5. So 525 divided by 5. We have to do this division now. Okay? 5 goes into 5 how many times? 1 time. Okay? Then I do my multiplication. 5 times 1 gives me 5. That gives me a 0. And I bring down my 2. Okay? 5 goes into 2 how many times? Well, it can't go at all because 2 is less than 5. So it can only go 0 times. Okay? Now let's multiply. 0 times 5 gives me 0. And again, I subtract. 2 minus 0 gives me 2. And now I've got to drop down the next column. Okay? Now I've got to drop down the next column. Now you have to say and ask yourself, how many times can 5 go into 25? Well, it can go 5 times using your multiplication tables because 5 times 5 gives you 25. And so when you do that, 5 times 5 gives you 25. You subtract, you get 0, so the remainder is 0. So 5 can go into 525 105 times. So what this is saying is that you must pay him $105 per month. And how did I know it was $105 per month? Because when I arrange it like this, with 525 divided by 5, the units are already defined for me, dollars per month. Okay? So in this section, we've dealt with division word problems that involve division of whole numbers. Okay? And it can become tricky because, a lot of times when you're doing these kinds of problems, you're not really sure. Should you be adding? Should you be subtracting? Should you be multiplying? Should you be dividing? You're not really sure what to do. And you really have to work through it and really understand the problem in order to be able to figure out what to do. And you also need to use your units. If you can figure out and learn how to use your units and learn from what I'm teaching you here, then your word problems will become very easy. Because if you understand the units, you'll understand what it's asking you, and you'll also know what to do. Because notice, I didn't really have to even do any thinking here. If I arrange it like this, I get my dollars per month. That's what I'm trying to find. For every problem, you'll have some sort of units, and if you can just understand the problem, you'll know how to set them up by using the units.